Look at that. That is a pretty bit of gold. What's up guys, Chris here from Vo-Gus Prospecting. If you're new to the channel, a big warm welcome, and if you're an old multi hell like this one, welcome back. Today I've got the high banker set up to dig out an old river channel. This river channel was blasted into the rock by the hydraulic sluices back in the 1890s, and I've got a theory that there might be some good gold at the bottom of it. The first time I was here, I punched this hole in the river gravel bar and we pulled out a 0.3, which wasn't that great for the amount of dirt that we were moving. However, the gold was getting better the further I came over this way, and I noticed that it was directly in line with this channel here. It's a little bit hard to see, but this channel is man-made. This is not a natural formation. In fact, there's sharp edges on both sides of this cut, and that falls perfectly in line with this up here, which is again a man-made blasted channel. And they did this to sluice. Basically what happened was the Cornish miners came out and they were used to mining tin with ground sluices, which is a sluice sunk in to the topsoil. That's exactly what that is. They would have used high pressure hoses to blast the banks away and funnel that dirt and slurry through those impromptu sluice boxes. And there's great evidence of this directly behind me, because that huge amount of dirt is a tailings dam. These were enforced by the Victorian Water Board in the 1860s to be put in because of the toxic sludge that was going downstream and destroying our farmland. But what I really want to know is this old sluice box still channeling gravel through it and catching gold for me? So we're going to do our best to dig down and hit the bottom. We might not make it today. I don't know how deep the bedrock is, but either way, we're going to have a lot of fun getting down there and seeing if there's any nice chunky yellow stuff for us to enjoy. So I'm going to flick that bad boy on. I'm going to shove my little heart out and swat that fly. As you can see, I have not really punched that much of a hole. I've probably run about 20 shovels or so. Mr. Grizzly's doing his best to help down there as well. But I've stopped because of this. There is way more ironstone in this mat. I mean, look at it in all those cells, and it comes really obvious down here. Look at it! Look how much ironstone is in that mat. That's insane for 20 shovels. There's way more of it in that little test hole than I ever got out of that humongous hole. Now that doesn't mean there's going to be gold, but we look for indicators. Indicators are things like shotgun pellets, minerals such as ironstone and black sand, to sort of give us an idea of where the heavies fall out, right? So to get a lot of iron is a good indication that we've got flow coming through that old sluice channel, and potentially there could be gold when we get down a bit deeper. Fingers crossed, because that's unreal. That's a lot of iron. And for all of you out there who have constantly badgered me about getting a real pick, just borrowed this bad boy. Look at that zombie slayer. You never know, when you're going to fall in a hole and when something exciting is going to happen, because something exciting just happened. Just turned the pump off to have a break in some water, lifted the lid on the high banker, and I got a specimen. That right there is an awesome little quartz specimen sitting in the dream mat cell. That is sick. So this is good. That actually says that there's definitely going to be gold down there. Specimens are notoriously difficult to catch because you usually get a thin amount of gold stuck on a large amount of quartz. And when that happens, they float, and they float straight out of sluices and pans and all sorts of stuff. So to get that in the sluice is really, really good. And beyond that, it also means we're on the right track. Lots of ironstone, specimens, I can see fine flower gold in there. There's going to be gold here. There's definitely going to be gold here. Check this out, guys. A friend of mine, Alan, stopped down in the creek just to say g'day. He's just got back from far north Queensland, and he's brought something called leaf gold for me to show you. That is awesome looking gold. I have never seen anything like that, or at least not in this size. I was expecting it to weigh, be like a feather, but it's actually got a fair amount of weight to it. But far north Queensland gold, and from what I was told, it's known as leaf gold. Just stopped to have a little bit of a check in the miner's moss. We've run about 100 shovels so far. I want to see what kind of heavies we're getting, because by all accounts it looks like we're getting a lot of ironstone. And I also want to check to see what kind of gold we're getting, if it's super fine or if it's really coarse, and then I can make small adjustments to my sluice setup. Hey, Grizzly. That's all we got out of the miner's moss at the top, which is not very much, and it's very fine. But we haven't actually hit any soil yet. We've literally just been working gravel, and if you watch my last video, I sort of explained that gravel is pretty much worthless unless it's straight after a flood. That's when you're more likely to find gold just sitting in amongst that gravel. Hence why we're trying to dig down to bedrock or a clay layer or a silt layer that'll be holding that gold. The dirt is getting thicker, so there's more dirt to rock ratio happening now that we're at depth, but we're still not quite there, so I've got to keep digging down. With a little bit of luck, we will hit one of those layers soon. That is a massive leech. That is huge. Look at that sucker. Woo! He's coming for you, Grizzly. Hole, I've been following a ledge, a bedrock ledge that's slowly going down and then tucking in back under. We hit that clay silt layer that I was hoping for, but the test pans didn't reveal overly much gold. So it gave me a good inspiration to run a little bit more of that clay dirt and then do a full clean out of the sluice to see what we got. And after at least 150 to 200 shovel run, that's all we got. Not very much at all. Tiny amounts of gold. There's neither the quantity or the size there to make me want to continue digging in that spot. It's a lot of work for very little reward. In fact, I found more gold in my first hole, and that's probably because there was a lot of open bedrock that I was able to scrape up and get that flood gold off. And for those of you curious to see what was in the gold hog mat, just this very fine gold. Exactly why you run a long tom setter. That's the sort of gold that blows out. There wasn't the quantity here really to even warrant it. However, it goes to show you, if you were on a spot that had super fine gold, you definitely want a longer setup to help you out. So we got a less than optimal result. What does that mean overall? Well, let me explain. In the first session that I ever did in this spot, I pulled out a 0.3 from this hole. There was a lot of digging, but it was very easy. Now my second hole, I didn't dig overly much dirt. So easy digging means quantity moved, and the quantity I moved was directly on top of some sloping bedrock, so I was able to clean off the bottom pretty easily, and I believe that's where most of my gold came from in that first session. Now I said in that video that I wanted to come back and check out the ditch, the sluice run, the pit that was next to it, because the gold was getting better, which is exactly where I dug down in on top of today. Now the reason I dug that hole without doing test pans is because I'd already dug gold out from here. I kind of knew what to expect. Not much gold until you got to bedrock. And whilst we hit some beautiful clay, it looked really good, and we got some specks out of it, as I did more and more shovels and did more test pans while sluicing, I was starting to realize that the gold really wasn't worth my time in pursuing. And it's much easier to find this out with a little high banker like I've got set up today than it is to do test panning, because you have to move at least waist deep overburden in this particular spot to even get to that clay layer to know. And this is a super important thing to remember. You're going to have spots like this. Whilst this was an experiment, a test to see what was at the bottom of that sluice run, it wasn't about guaranteeing gold. What I was trying to do was figure out what was actually at the bottom there. And it turns out there's not much. So if you find yourself in a situation where you get a little bit of gold from your test pans, or you get a little bit of gold sluicing, and you realize that it's a lot of work for not a lot of reward, don't be afraid to stop and move on. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. In fact, it's a really good idea, because the next spot you try could be loaded with it. Well, even though we didn't find tons of gold, only a 0.13 in that session, or about $10 worth, it did actually give me a couple of handy hints on where I should be looking to find the better gold deposits, and I have since found one in that area that I've made a video on that's coming to you in the next couple of weeks. I cannot wait to share that with you. Some of you guys might not know that I actually have a game streaming channel where I play PS4 with subscribers. I've been doing this for several months, and whilst it might not be for you, for the people who are interested in jumping on and having a game with me, you can do so at the link above. Thank you so much for watching my video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you like this video, the chances are there's plenty of other videos on my channel that you will like. Subscribing also is free, and it will give you access to heaps of gold prospecting content every single week, so hitting that little bell is a surefire way for you not to miss out on any of those adventures. Until next time, give your dog a scratch behind the ear for me. Peace, and I am out.